But the matter at hand is that court case that's currently playing itself out in the Pietermaritzburg High Court. For some analysis now, I'm joined by political analyst Sandile Swana. Sandile, good afternoon. You and I and many South Africans were watching and listening just for about over an hour, from about 12:10 to just before 2:30, to Advocate Dalimpofu making an argument in the Pietermaritzburg High Court why it has jurisdiction, it can rule on their application in terms of that constitutional court order for the arrest, to stop the execution, literally, of the arrest order. What was your impression just listening to the arguments that he was making right through towards the end when he was talking about his client's rights to dignity?
Yes, thank you so much. I think that Dalimpofu brought his personal experience as an activist, a young activist who got detained without trial, to bear on this issue. And his case centers on the fact that here we are talking about personal freedom of a human being. So when you take someone, arrest them, and go and put them in a prison, you are removing personal freedom from that person. He says that it's one of the things that the courts guard against, to the point that if, as a lawyer, his client is arrested, he can even wake up a judge at 1 a.m. in the morning in his house and ask for ways of getting that person released one way or the other. So the issue centers this argument on the fact that it cannot be taken lightly. Detention without trial, they experienced it growing up as activists. And he goes to the point that even the state institutions who are charged with arresting people and administering the Criminal Procedure Act are not opposing this. The president is not opposing this. The Minister of Justice is not opposing this. The police are not opposing this. The state entities are not opposing this. The people who are there represented by Advocate Toby, is the Zondo Commission, saying Zuma must go to prison right now, even if on the 12th, let's say on the 12th, they lose the case. So that's basically where we are today.
Yeah, very interestingly, just before the break that happens for this half hour, Advocate Toby setting out his three main areas that he's going to focus on, but seemingly insisting that Mr. Zuma, the order still stands today, even if he's applying in court for the stay of execution of that arrest order. It's going to be interesting to see what points he brings up after 3 o'clock, but it looks like the arguments for and against will be strong this afternoon.
Yeah, I mean, look, they've brought in very good advocates, both sides. However, the fact that the Constitutional Court, I think we have to consider this. There are a few points to consider. One of them is the fact that this was not a unanimous decision. This one of sending Zuma to prison without a trial was not a unanimous decision. So which then following that, the idea that they've basically allowed an application for rescission. They've allowed it to happen on the 12th. So which means that they say, yes, it's still possible that in the face of other arguments, they may come to a different conclusion. And also, lastly, the point that the state agencies acting perhaps on their own, the state attorney's advice, have decided not to oppose this application. Which means they are saying that the Constitutional Court judges need to work through the constitutional issues themselves without interference from the state agencies. They are now washing their hands and putting this thing at a distance from themselves. So that is where we are.
Yes, and very interestingly, Dalimpofu also making that point that he hopes the fact that the Constitutional Court has set a date for next week for this matter to be heard is not just for show. There is a possibility that they will reconsider that original order that they had issued. The matter of sending somebody to jail without a trial and being the first ever, according even to Judge Sisi Khampepe, that was cited now by Dali Mpofu, is an interesting one because it hasn't happened ever before in democratic South Africa, at least from what we know. So do you think in your analysis, is that a strong point that Dali Mpofu has brought to the table?
It is a very strong point because the justices themselves, I mean, I did listen to that judgment when it was being delivered. They were very concerned about that. And they had to go to extra lengths to explain why, from their point of view, they had to take that decision. But they also admitted that that decision was being taken without any input from Zuma himself. So it was basically an independent position that they were attacking at the time. And for the time being, I think there is something to congratulate them about in them saying they will be prepared to listen to a rescission of that decision. And the key point for our constitutional democracy, and Dali Mpofu makes an important point, that it is not the constitutional court itself, the judges themselves who are at the top of South African society. It is the constitution. So even if these judges go, other judges could make a different decision, just as the one who made the minority decision did make it.
Yeah, Sandile, just as we conclude, from what you've just said, and I'm just thinking about it now, just offhand, is that the door has been opened for a change of mind come Monday.
That door is open, and I think that the fact that that door is open is probably going to persuade the Pietermaritzburg High Court to say, let's wait and see if the very authors of this decision are prepared to reconsider it. Why should we take this person for another 3 months, 4 months into prison before the final decision is made?
Yeah.
Let's wait. It's possible that they might reverse that decision.
Interesting. We'll have to wait and see, find out, because it's an urgent matter. I don't think we have a lot to do, and we're going to have more analysis. Thank you very much, Sandile Swana. Of course, we're giving you more analysis here this afternoon on the Midday View in this ongoing, unfolding, developing story.